All right. Hey, Paul.
Hey Fab,
How's it going?
good you?
Good. All right. Perhaps maybe the last live episode of the year.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see how we feel next week. So I thought we would have maybe a little bit of fun,
yeah.
which would be how can salespeople and marketers kick off the next year right?
Um, you know what? It's funny, Fab, because I was thinking about this when we're going to talk about this, and I I'm one of those person who doesn't believe in New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who thinks if you want to create a habit, do it right away.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of people use the New Year as a reset.
Yeah.
You know, you have time off, you have time to think, and for that reason, I think it's maybe not a bad idea to reset because a lot of people don't get a chance to think about what it is that they need to do. They're just running in the rat race, right? So you have a couple of weeks off, or you have a week off, and you have time to think. And particularly this year with COVID, people won't be seeing their families. So just to immediately contradict myself, maybe it is a good time to reset and have some kind of resolution to things you want to do.
Yeah.
Only because you have time to think. But in normal times, I would say, I don't know if you agree with me on this, let's just focus on the things we want to do immediately. Like if you want to change your habits, do it now.
Yeah.
If you want to do more cold calls, do it now.
Yeah.
Why wait? Just get it done.
And I think that's a valid point, right? Kicking off the new year doesn't mean waiting for the new year, right? I think, get started now will help you kick the year off right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I entirely agree.
Yeah.
And for that, I think there's something that I've been doing recently with my clients, a few of them, and I want to talk to you about it. And I might throw you into the situation.
Yeah.
It's about doing role plays, particularly in sales. It's about doing role plays.
Yeah.
But a little bit of gamification in the role play. What I mean by that is to establish a few rules and make it fun. So what I've been doing with my clients, and it's quite simple. I throw what is called the open question challenge. So you do a role play. It can be at any stage of more in early stages of the sales process. And you try to continuously ask an open question. And you do it in a group. It's fun. The others listen, and everyone has his turn. And how the turn passes from one person to the other is that the minute someone asks a closed-ended question, either answerable by yes or no, stop and you move on to the next person.
Right.
What you do when you do it one-on-one is you make a challenge. You say, hey, can I ask, can I get to 5 or to 10 open questions?
Right.
And it's not as easy as you think.
Definitely not.
And not as
open-ended questions are difficult.
They are difficult.
Yeah.
We often, and I think the more you practice, the better you get at it. So I think that's something good to do in the new year. Make it fun, challenge yourself, try it out. And most people who have a lot of sales experience or people who don't have it, they find it difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. Want to
try? Yes, we could try that. But before, I wanted to know, like and let's be concrete, and then we'll jump into the open-ended question. Is there? And I know we talked about this last year, and I'm probably going to talk about it every year until people don't want to hear from me anymore. What's your take on actual sales activity, kind of past December 23rd? Like cold calling people, emailing people, stuff like that.
You know what, Fab? I see it in the same way that I see cold call schedules.
Okay.
A lot of people say, oh, you can't do cold calls after the 23rd. Yeah. No, you could do cold calls whenever you want. If the person answers, then they answer. Would I avoid Christmas? Yeah, probably, because I don't know that anyone's in the office on Christmas Day, whether you're Christian or not.
Yeah.
would I avoid a few days a year? Labor Day, yeah, I might avoid Labor Day.
Yeah.
But I think every day is a good day to cold call if you feel good. If it's November, if it's December 24th and you're in a great mood, and you think one of your clients might be still at the office, give them a call. I mean, adjust your speech accordingly. Be smart about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have those conversations. Again, a lot of CEOs and top executives are just chilling out, doing some last minute things. They're in a great mood. They're festive. Might be a good time.
Yeah, and I know marketing wise, like I think, like we said, we might not do a live show next week, but that doesn't mean I'm going to stop publishing the podcast, like type of thing. Like I think in marketing, I think your activities can't stop during the break. And I think that helped. And it kind of going back to what you were saying at the beginning, which is like, why wait until the new year, right? If you want to launch a new show, or if you want to try out a new cold call script or approach or whatever, like why wait? Like you could do it now. And in a way, sometimes the holidays are the best time because, I mean, pro or con, some more people are less responsive, which in a way is good because it allows you to test stuff. But on the other hand, it could be like the people that are responsive, well, you're one of the only ones that are out there. You know what I mean? Like you were saying about your cold calls or a follow-up message or whatnot. If somebody's just at home, because the office is closed and, whether they have a family or not, and they're just chilling, and they get a message from you or they hear you call, like they might be willing to actually speak with you because they actually have the time to do it. Or they might be willing to try out the new podcast because whatever, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, like you were saying also right before, is a lot of people take this break as a way of recharging, rethinking, everybody's planning for next year. Like whether your office is fully closed for 2 weeks or just a handful of days, like it's always the moment when we plan for next year, right? And I think that means it's a good time to, if you want to kick the year off right, I think it's a good time to actually continue doing some of the stuff that you normally would. I mean, take a break, obviously. Taking a break is also important, but yeah.
It's December 24th or between Christmas and New Year's for me is like Monday morning or Friday afternoon. If you feel great Monday morning and you want to call someone, it's wonderful. People, usually people are a lot more responsive to your sincere mood than they are to the time of example. Okay, let's make this really tactical for a second. Someone calls you at home and says, "Hi, Fab, how are you? Are your windows good?" And you feel that it's fake. You feel the person, just reading a script. You feel that the person is, let's just say, then you're not going to respond to it. And part of that outreach, part of that cold calling, part of that first time prospecting is all about connecting with that individual. So when it comes to, is it time to stop your activities, your outgoing activities? I think it depends on the individual. Yeah. As for making it fun and creating a plan for your new year, I think that's great too. I mean, I think if you sit down and you want to structure the things you want to change and improve, it's probably a good idea to sit down and make a plan and decide, at this time of year, okay, what are my goals for next year? How am I going to reach them? What am I going to do to get there? But when I say I don't like New Year's resolutions, if you get in this mood on September 15th, do it on September 15th.
Yeah, I think, and I agree. I mean, I'm not a fan of the New Year's resolution too. I know what's helped for me is instead of doing kind of a resolution, which is like, I'm going to work out 5 times a week type of thing, it's more kind of setting a goal, like you just said, right? Is like, this year I want to get more in shape. And then you can start thinking of because there's other things that you can do, or you can start incrementally and stuff like that. I think that's a good thing to do on, as the year closes up, especially it's been a crazy year this year. So I think spending the time to kind of figure out what you want for next year, as opposed to like setting in stone already, working out 5 times a week or doing 35 cold calls a day. You know, like I think that's
Yeah.
it's a little restrictive, and I think that's why a lot of resolutions kind of fail because they're too restrictive, right?
Yeah, and you know, there's two people, right? There's, as an individual, there's the person who makes a plan, and there's a person who acts on the plan.
Yeah.
So making the plan, let's face it, is a lot easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like about forming a new habit, and I call it, you know, an action plan or forming a new habit, you know, just to be inspired by James Clear, is that if you create a habit, it'll be a lot easier for you to follow through on it. And there's a whole process to creating a habit that makes sense. And that's how you'll get to the actions that follow through in your plan.
Gotcha.
One thing I really like about James Clear, and I just want to quote him here, and I want your opinion on it, but, you know, getting your shoes on and getting to the gym is usually harder than doing your workout.
Yeah.
Because you're making a decision to get there, you know? So if you create a habit of just, okay, don't think about it. Let's say wake up in the morning, put my shoes on, go to the gym. Well, then that's good, you know? And you know, for example, this year I said to myself, okay, I'm going to try to cycle to work every single day. You know, winter, summer, fall, or whatever. So I'm trying to get there, and I'm doing okay. But what I've also said to myself is, if I fail one day, it's okay.
Yeah.
Not the end of it, right? So if you know, so you've got to know yourself. You've got to know the habits you want to fix, and create the path to get there. It is about discipline, but there has to be a reward also to the things that you do. That's another thing Clear says, you know, set a reward at the end of the cycle, you know?
Yeah.
What's a good thing that happens to you every time you do this?
Yeah. And I think, you know, and maybe this is a good segue to what you kind of just sprung on me before, which is like, I think you have to understand the why you want to change with you, right? You know, and when you're working with a client or a prospect, it's about, you know, as much as possible getting to that why, and the closer you can get to that why, probably the more chances you are of getting the business at the end of the day. And so I think it's the same for your New Year. So instead of like just being, I want to do 35 cold calls a day, it's like, well, why do you want to do these cold calls a day, every day, right? Well, it's because I'd like to get, you know, more business. Okay, well, why do you want more business? Well, it's because whatever, you know, I want to be the top rep next year. Okay, well, why do you want to be the top rep next year? And so instead of like being focused on the 35 calls, and especially in a moment like this, you know, the whole COVID, and, you know, obviously we don't need to rehash what's going on, but I think flexibility is a big thing. And so when you're trying to put a resolution in place, it's like, I'm going to work out or I'm going to do 35 calls a day. You know, that might not work out if everything shuts back down again. I mean, there are vaccines and all of that going on, but, you know, but if you focus on the why, there you go. That's the new start of the show. If you go with your why, well, you can flex. Okay, I can't do my calls anymore because whatever, like the internet's down and I don't have access to voice over IP. I could do X, Y, Z because you're attaching it back to the why as opposed to the activity.
Yeah.
So on that note, getting to the why, which is not at all about kicking the new year off, right? But still super interesting. You wanted to do some cold calling, some open-ended question. Game or exercise,
fun.
And but I think it's good. I think it's the type of, fine, you just sprung it on me, and it's cool. Let's roll with it. But in a way, I think there's two good lessons in there. One, shit happens. Two, and you have to roll with it. And two, it's part about improving yourself even during the holidays. So I tied it back in.
And rolling it into a habit, okay?
Yeah.
So, and the reason I chose cold calls is role plays is, I think the second least favorite, or maybe the first least favorite activity of any salesperson is role play.
Is role play.
And because at first, and any and every client that I work with, the first role plays that I do are painful for them.
Yeah.
Whether it's the VP, whether it's the manager, whether it's the director of sales, whether it's the actual salespeople, there is an enormous amount of discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Because you haven't done it, it's uncharted territory. But the one thing that probably helps you the most is role play. So that's why I wanted to do these fun role plays that are fun and get you used to doing it. There's two reasons for them. One, you get to practice your craft, and two, you make it a fun role play. So the
Yeah.
gamification is, let's play the open question. The one thing that most salespeople do improperly, and what inspired the name of my company, Question Z, is the fact that people don't ask open-ended questions. They mostly ask closed-ended questions. They go in, they have an idea of what they want, and they ask very specific, tight questions to get the answers. And they forget to get and understand the motivation of their client. Okay, so
wait. But before we get into it, like because I think you said something really interesting there. That's why I kind of interrupted you, which is like, because I was actually talking to a client not long ago, and they were like, "Oh, our reps are kind of trained to try to identify the problem before they get on the phone with the prospect." And I'm not a sales consultant, so I didn't say anything. But I think what's interesting in there is that there's a reason why you're asking open-ended questions, because you don't really know what their problem is, and you might know because, let's say, you're doing some web stuff, and I know they're not using HubSpot because I can see that there's no tracking tags on their site. And I know a company like that would be a great fit for it. But what I know doesn't matter. It's really what they know and what they feel and what they believe. And that's honestly a big marketing lesson too, where you know that your product is the best and all that really doesn't matter. It's the perception that your client has. And so that's why I think open-ended questions are important, right? Is because you need to find out why if this is important to your client.
If it's important to your client, and get them to say it in their own words.
Yeah.
You say to someone, "Hey, is this important to you?" They say yes, it's important to them. And you say, "Tell me why it's important to you." You're a lot more emotionally and you're a lot more emotionally involved in that answer. You're a lot more connected to that answer. It's your answer. It's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. Good point. Okay. Do you want to try this?
Sure. Let's do it.
It's simple. So what I do, and I often take the salesperson out of their typical sales environment.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want them to focus on the question.
Okay.
I want them to focus on the overall strategy rather than the technical aspect. I've got a technical client, and they're thinking more about the product and how it's going to serve the client rather than thinking about the client's motivations.
Right.
So let's just say I'm a client walking into a car dealership.
Okay.
And you're a car salesperson.
Nice.
And it's, we'll say it's a Toyota dealership. And I'm just looking around on the floor. And I'm going to challenge you to ask me 5 open-ended questions.
Okay.
So go for it.
Starting now? Okay. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks.
What's that?
I said I'm good, thanks.
Cool.
Not really
How are
open.
you? What's that? Oh, you counted? All right, cool. Thanks. Good to hear. It's a good time of the year for a lot. Is there anything you're looking for in particular today?
You're just lost, because then I said no. I can say no or yes to your question. So you weren't
clear on the game, because you said 5 open-ended questions, but there could be some closed-ended ones in the meantime.
No.
Okay. Yeah, you weren't that specific. So.
I'm sorry. You cannot have any closed-ended questions.
All right, fine. You should have been clear about that at the beginning.
Correct. Mea culpa. You get the buzzer if you get it.
All right, we're starting over?
No, we're continuing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We're sorry. This cat, I don't know what's up with her today.
I like it.
So doing good today. Why are we in here today?
Well, my lease is coming up. I've got a 5-year-old car, and my wife's always ranting and raving about this Toyota she had before she met me. So I figured I'd come in and check out the Toyotas.
I see she knows what she's talking about.
I would think that you'd say that.
Do you mind me asking what kind of car you have now?
Yeah. Right now I drive a Subaru.
And what do you like about it?
Not much at this point. It's been 5 years. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of the color. I'm tired of the interior. I'm tired of the drive. I feel I need something new. Nothing. It's been a great car. It's like, it's been boringly great. It always starts. All it needs is oil changes, but I need something different.
Yeah, a lot of people like a little pep and excitement with their cars. Can I ask you kind of how often you use your car? Like,
I use my car every day. I use my car every day to and from work, and I use it on the weekend too. We often go to the cottage. I go fishing. We go hiking. We go mountain biking. A variety of activities. So I need a car that can fit a roof rack for my boat, my kayak, because I fish in a kayak, and also fit a bike rack for my mountain bikes.
Nice.
By the way, our family has 4 people in it.
4 people in it. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
And do you know what your wife liked about her Toyota in the first place? Oh, can I ask, what did your wife like about her Toyota in the first place?
What did my wife like about her Toyota? Well, she loved it. Was the FJ Cruiser. She loved it. She thought it was a beautiful truck. Yeah, she just liked the look of it. She liked the drive. The thing was a tank.
Nice.
It was as safe as they come. And yeah, it was it guzzled gas. Oof.
Yeah. They don't really make them like that anymore. There's been a lot of advances.
They don't make the FJ Cruiser anymore.
Exactly. But I just meant car-wise. There have been a lot of improvements in the guzzling repertoire. So I'm hearing a lot about outdoor activities, daily use, safety. Was there a Toyota that you were looking at? Are you
forget the or think of which or what?
Which Toyota were you thinking of?
I'm not sure. I was looking at the 4Runner. I was also looking at I think you have a big truck called the Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also looking at I think it's called the Highlander.
Yes, the Highlander. Yes, yeah. Great car also.
Have
you ever, what's that saying?
Yeah, go for it.
And who would be driving this? How, I'm guessing it's you, your wife. How old are your kids?
My wife, myself, I'd be driving it 80% of the time. She'd be driving about 20% of the time. And my son, who's going to get his license, would be driving it too as of next year.
Interesting. So definitely safety. Well, the Highlander, blah, blah, blah. I'm honest, I don't know anything about Toyotas.
So you did well, Fab. I think you asked me about 5 or 6 questions.
Right.
And you faltered twice. But it's hard. You see how hard it is?
Yeah. But it's interesting because whenever I've done calls or spoken with people,
you're very good.
Always mixed
up. I don't know who your sales coach is, but you're really good.
Yeah, he's not bad. He has good days and bad days. No, but when I speak with people, I've always kind of mixed in like the open-ended, the closed-ended, but as we were doing this exercise, what you made me realize is I tend to throw in those closed-ended questions as safeties for myself, right?
Yeah,
and so there's that. There's also and maybe that's more of a marketing thing, and that's maybe more specific to me as a reason why using the closed-ended. Because in marketing, you kind of want sometimes people to answer those easy yes/no answers. Because it helps them move along their marketing process.
Don't get me wrong. It's not to say that all closed-ended questions are bad, but let's face it, 99% of the time you ask a closed-ended question. Even now, I think you realize that the open-ended question was better.
Yeah.
Even in this situation, we often just go lazily to the closed-ended question because we think that it'll answer something that we can't ask in an open-ended way. It's just it's most people have a hard time with open-ended questions and have an easy time with closed-ended questions.
Yeah.
That's why I don't often practice the closed-ended questions unless you're closing or you're opening.
Yeah.
But you know what else it did?
Yeah.
Is the open-ended question makes your client talk.
Yeah.
Your prospect talk. And when they talk, they get more involved. Now, what you did that I really like is you confirmed and you built your questions on what I'd answered.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good.
And you know what's helped me with that, and this is maybe the more marketing thing, and we never talked about personal branding for salespeople, and maybe that's something we could tackle in the new year. But like what's helped me with my open-ended questions and building off of what people say is kind of our shows, right? Is like, and you're interviewing people, and it's a good practice, and it's great because one, it's marketing content, but two, it does practice. Because if let's say in my mind, I wanted to say something, but then you ramble on, but then I could pick up on something you say and it brings the conversation in a whole different direction and whatnot. And I think
you ramble? Never.
I was kidding. I'm teasing you, but you know what I mean? Like, I think there's practice there too. And I think, like I said, personal branding in this for salespeople, I think is something we might want to talk about next year, but that's helped me a lot in terms of picking up the puck where it's at, as opposed to where I would have wanted it to be.
I love that expression. I'm going to use that.
Nice.
Pick up the puck where it's at rather than where you want it to be. I love that, Fab. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's great. I think that should be the title of this podcast. Pick up the puck where it is rather than where you'd want it.
I like it.
It's a very good point because I'm happy you see that, because yes, open questions have, of course, a huge amount of value, and we should always be practicing them. It's sort of like practicing being calm, being zen. Those are things that a lot of human beings don't have naturally. And also the pregnant pauses when you ask someone a question, just shut up. You did that well, by the way.
Yeah.
You didn't ask 5 questions. I'll do this. This is how I ruin my questioning strategy sometimes. I'll say, so Fab, tell me about your business. And then I'll say, are you having a hard time this year? Are things good? What is it that you're looking for? Blah. And I'll ask like 17 questions in a row. And then the person's like,
Yeah, well, then they pick the one they want to answer.
Well, then that's it. Then I've trained myself to ask just one question. Tell me more about that.
And you know what? Like, and that's obviously something that's probably less repeatable, but the fact that I don't know anything about cars in general, and even less Toyota, helps because, it's not my industry, right? I think it's a little bit harder when you're an expert in what you're selling, because you maybe get a little excited about like, okay, these are all the things that, like in your case, sales consulting can fix. And so let's just have a merry conversation about them all. But when you don't know really what you're selling, but again, that's not that repeatable, obviously. But what I like was help for me, and I haven't done it consistently enough.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Because it is repeatable. And it's repeatable if you tell yourself, and I heard a great podcast last year, and I forget the guy's name, and I'm really sorry, person, and steal what you said. And he said the point that often salespeople at first who are good at open-ended questions do really well. As they acquire the expertise in the job, they start interjecting sooner because they gain the expertise, as you just said, and they start selling.
Yeah.
Sometimes their sales go down because they start pushing things. Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and they'll interrupt and go into it. Whereas if you keep that on just here, if you give yourself a certain amount of time, say, look, I'm just going to ask questions. I'm just going to go in depth into what's going on. You can even tell your client you're doing that. Or your prospect, I just want to find out a lot more about your business. I'm not going to talk about me for a while. I just want to find out about your business.
Yeah.
Help me decide what it is I'll tell you about my business, what makes sense for you.
Yeah.
So anyways, continue. Now you're going to make another point. So yes, I think it is scalable. Just remind yourself in that first part, no matter how much of an expert you are, just to ask your questions.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I think, but I think what's helped me, because, and again, maybe that's just me, like the challenge with the open-ended questions is, personally, I tend to get lost, right? Like maybe I'm too pragmatic and I need to always have like an anchor type of thing. But it's like, there we were talking about the car, and I was like, wait, why am I asking these questions? And so I started shooting random questions because like I gotta forget where I'm at. But what I've helped is you've talked a lot about like finding the why and kind of some important parts, like in previous episodes, important things that you need to understand to move your sales forward, right? Like their needs and whatnot. And so I've written down like the 10, 12 things that you've told me I need answers to, like you said, like the need and like the urgency and stuff like that. And then I have it written down on a paper next to me. Obviously, it's a bit easier when you're doing Zoom stuff. And then as I'm asking my questions, I'm looking like, oh man, I still don't have an answer about this timeline or this urgency stuff. And so then I try to build off of whatever that person said last and try to build in the timelines thing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's very good. So
I don't do it enough because I don't always prepare enough for my calls. But I think what I'm going to try to do is just have it out written in like a Word document, and then just for me personally, writing it out like manually is easier. So just have it printed out. I know I have a call tomorrow, so I'll print it out and then I have it there with me.
Yeah. Now the point of these role plays, and it's good that you said all that, but the point of these role plays too is to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right. It is to screw up. So
yeah.
It's fun. So what I just said to two of my clients this week is I said, look, I want you to practice 5 minutes a day, call one of your colleagues and have one of these goofy role plays. I said, you can sell whatever you want. You could be selling a sex toy. You could be selling a luxury cruise liner. You could be selling consulting services, but you're not selling your own product. You're just having fun.
Right.
Because you're just practicing. You're practicing getting your mind used to opening the, open-ended questions. It's not the are you or do you, but the what are and which is and how do you and why are you, the questions that are going to help you understand the motivation behind your client's situation.
Yeah.
And as we both said a ton of times, and I think you said it at the beginning of this podcast, client doesn't give a crap about you or your product. Yeah. He cares about how it's going to help them achieve their goals. You've said this many times, and I think that's
You're right. Cool. Paul, I think we've said a lot of fun stuff today. I have a call to get to shortly. And so thank you, everybody. This will definitely be the last podcast episode of the year.
No,
no, it will not.
I'm going to get you to do another one next week.
Yeah, but their podcasts are always a bit delayed, so by a week or two. So, but
it
everybody,
might be the last one that's diffused this year, but it won't be the last one that's recorded.
No, exactly. All right, everybody. Paul, thanks for your time. Have a great holidays.
Love you, Fab. Happy holidays.
Talk to you soon.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.